line. I'll start because we're live right now.
Okay.
Welcome to Great Employees Matter. First show, technical difficulties. You got myself, Koby Dumas. You got Jimi Bingham. You got Lloyd Dix on the line. We're gonna go over our topic, which is overcoming workplace burnout, with hopefully our guest, Dr. Shafer Stedron. So if she doesn't show up, we still got some coaching to do and some things to go on. I think we can go ahead and start it out with some quotes. So let me put my quotes up. I did put a couple of quotes.
Okay.
So I'll see what we'll talk about the quotes first and see what you guys both think about that. So the first quote that I found was a quote by the founder of MetaLab and co-founder of Tiny. His name is Andrew Wilkinson, and he says, you don't have to make yourself miserable to be successful. It's natural to look back and mythologize the long nights and maniac moments of genius, but success isn't about working hard, it's about working smart. That quote resonated with me because that was one of my things all the time. We don't work hard, we work smart. We get all the work, together, and we figure out how to do it in the most efficient way. We don't have to do it in the most smart way. Let me get that music out of here.
Yeah. I'm going to try and call Dr. Shafer.
What do you think, Lloyd?
No, I agree. I'm hearing some music.
I'm going to turn it down right now. I'm going to get it out of here. It should go off.
There we are. Yes, no, I agree. We need to work harder, work smarter, not harder. And that is something we preach. The most amazing thing to me that always stuck out was, why was there always enough time to do it over, but never enough time to do it right?
Right.
So you're showing that you're in the room?
It says you're backstage. Only the host can see you. The host may add you to the stage at any time.
Wow.
Don't see her.
Do you want me to go back and try again?
Yeah. Tell her to go out and come back in.
If you wouldn't mind, we'll see if that.
Yes.
Let's have a connection.
Okay. Studio.
If you're watching us, we're just having technical difficulties. We're getting started here in a moment. We're talking about the quote. Lloyd, you were saying about what your thoughts were on the quote I just read?
Yes. The thing that I always told everybody was, when you got a task, if there were 10 things you needed to do, to try and do as many of the 10 that you could do all at once, rather than pick something up and do one and then wait for the next step and everything, but to try and do as many as you could all at once, so that you could minimize the time on repetitive tasks.
She shows that she's back in the room.
It shows that she's back in the room. Huh.
Yeah. I wonder, do you need to just generate a new link? Because what it says at the top, it says ended 1:17. So I wonder if I'm trying to, I don't know how the StreamYard.
Okay, tell her what's her email? I'll send her another one right now.
Okay, sounds good.
What's her email address?
Yes.
Oh, 1 second. If you're watching live, technical difficulties. This is how we do it. It happens. First show out, and we're trying to get our guest on using a new program. So just bear with us.
Okay, Shafer Stedron at gmail.com.
Yeah.
We apologize for this, Dr. Shafer.
Okay. I think you might have it right now. Oh yeah, we're live. For sure we're live. I just checked the channel. There you are.
Hello.
Hey. Well, sorry about that. Again, apologies.
Did.
Our first show, you're breaking us in. If you're watching us or if you're just joining the stream, we just had a few technical difficulties, but we right back on track. I just introduced us. My name is Koby. This is Jimmy. You met Jimmy already. We also have Lloyd Dix in the room, and we're ready to get the conversation started. Jimmy, I'm gonna let you take over.
All right. Well, for our audience, we want to introduce you to, we refer to her as Dr. Shafer. Her name is Dr. Shafer Stedron. Dr. Shafer is a physician, a life coach, a writer, a musician, a mom, a publisher, and she's passionate about empowering others to live a life that is full and authentic. We were fortunate to have met her and had a brief discussion with her and said, you have to be on our podcast. So we talked a little bit to her, and she knows that how we normally do our podcast. For those of you that are familiar with us, we just have a conversation. We start out with a conversation where we ask Dr. Shafer to tell us her story and how she got here. And if you looked at the podcast notes coming in, you'll see that she is going to spend a little bit of time talking about burnout in the workplace, because she just has lots of experience in that arena. So, Dr. Shafer.
Yeah, welcome. I like to start with your journey, man. So we know a little bit about you, but where does all this come from? Where did it start? And the whole 9 yards. What put you on this journey?
Oh, well, thank you so much for that wonderful, lovely introduction. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you going through all of it, because it's all really important, but it's a long journey, like most of us have had, right, to get where we are today. So I actually started out as a professional musician when I was 14, was when I was really first in studios, writing, recording, dancing, performing, doing all of those things. I moved to New York City when I was 17. I was living on couches. I was going to live out that dream of really moving forward in the music industry. I was accepted into the School of Music Business. That was the plan. And then I ended up very, very young, getting engaged and married very quickly. And that wasn't really the plan that my then husband wanted for me. He didn't think that was a great place to raise a family in the music industry or in New York City. So I ill-advisedly moved back to the Midwest, where I was originally from, and changed everything. And I thought, well, I'm interested in psychology. I'm interested in medicine. Why not just go to medical school? So how hard can it be, right? So I applied to one medical school. I got into medical school, and I just completely pivoted my life. Fast forward, going through all of the amazing and arduous training of becoming a physician. I had graduated from medical school, internship, residency. I had moved to a new state and city, and I was really making my way as an attending neurologist. But what was happening at home was I was having less and less autonomy over not only what was happening in my home, but also what I was feeling I was permitted to do outside of the home. And eventually that led to me not working as a physician outside of the home any longer, and only working for my spouse for his company. And my life became that of, the person who had been an aspiring professional musician at the ripe old age of 14 and taking on New York City all on my own and all of that, to then pivoting again, becoming a neurologist and taking that world by storm, to suddenly I really felt confined in the walls of my home. And because that happened so gradually over decades of my life, it was kind of like the frog in boiling water. I didn't necessarily notice distinctly what was happening until my best friend said, "Do you know that you matter?" And I'd never actually considered that, right? And I think that really goes along with your title of your show, Great Employees Matter, right?
Yeah, that's incredible.
And if you don't...
Sorry.
Yeah. And if you don't think you matter, you're not showing up well in your personal life, your professional life. Eventually, you're just not showing up, right? And that goes to burnout as well. So for me, having that one person support me really allowed me to make the changes in my personal life and in my professional life, to really lean into my possibilities instead of really staying in what I thought was a cage, but was really just a hamster wheel I needed to decide to step off of it and to take back ownership of my life and create the life I wanted. And when I went along that journey of reclaiming my story and rebuilding it, things were happening naturally. People were reaching out to me asking for advice. Here I was feeling so hopeless and the wounds were so fresh, but people in the community were saying, hey, I spoke to someone. They said you can help me. I'm going through something similar. What resources can I use? How can I get out of this place of feeling stuck? How can I reclaim my story and my future? And so that led me from this place of feeling really hopeless. What am I going to do with my life moving forward? To then really leaning into the health, wellness, and self-development space. And so that led me to being a Jay Shetty certified life coach, starting my podcast, and all sorts of other things like my community, We Don't Tell Our Stories, to try to support people who are on this journey of reclaiming their story and recovering, whether it's from intimate partner abuse or it's from issues at work, like burnout, whatever it is that's keeping them from truly living their life and building the future that really celebrates who they are and is in alignment with who they are.
That's,
Go ahead, Lloyd.
no, I was going to say that that's just quite a story to go from a musician to physician. You know, and it's not like you went from a musician to a music producer, or
Right.
to something music related, or contract related. It's a complete pivot. Uh, what was it missing in your life that caused you to make that pivot?
You know, it was more of an external force. It wasn't really a decision that I had made. It was really came from a point of not having enough self-worth to say, no, I'm going to stay on this path. But that being said, it's not something I would go back and change. I'm very proud of that pivot. I love being a neurologist.
Uh-oh. Is everybody frozen or is it just
That's all wonderful. And I will say too, as I've recently pivoted yet again, having known that I was able to do that as a young person, that I was able to transition from music to medicine, which, as you said, that's a pretty big pivot, an unexpected one. Knowing that I'd done that was really helpful for me to remember when I was really feeling I was at my lowest point, that I could do hard things. And it's true, we can do things that we could never dream we could do if we just stay focused and believe in ourselves.
Okay, so you said your lowest. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. You said at your lowest point, so you obviously went through some challenges. Do you mind going through any of your challenges that may help our audience?
Yeah, I mean, for me to have gone from someone who had a lot of autonomy, who had worked really hard to be a neurologist, to be a physician, to then really working only from home for someone else outside of that field, and not, when asking for the ability to return back to medicine, being met with resistance. And no, right? That doesn't work for the family. That's not what's in the cards for you. It's not really your choice anymore. That's really challenging. But when you've made a lot of choices in your life very gradually that funneled you to this place, it's really hard to challenge that. And your mindset has already been so warped by your own limiting beliefs that probably led you to this place, but also by what external forces, what these people or situations are teaching you to believe about yourself. But something has to happen in your life to shock you, to really come back, become self-aware into who you really are, so that then you can really step into the life that you're meant to live, not the life that they're trying to make you conform to.
Awesome.
Right. We're so influenced by everybody in our life, right? Starting from our parents, right? And then our teachers.
Yeah.
And so we end up having, preconceived limitations on ourselves. And that's why it's so important for for professionals like you to help out, to help individuals that get caught in all of that. So how does your journey relate to burnout in the workplace? There are a lot of things that we talk about in our coaching and our training of employees. We talk about how it's important to take time to rest and recharge, right, to recover.
Yeah.
It's important to set boundaries and be able to say no when it's appropriate to say no.
Right.
We teach our audience to find the joy in the small moments, right? So that they don't get so overwhelmed by the workplace and the expectations. So what are your tidbits of advice on being able to recover from a stressful workplace situation so that you don't burn out?
Well, and burnout. So today we're going to discuss for your audience occupational burnout, but it's important for people to understand that there's not only one kind of burnout. And right, it's when you have a system where the challenges of that system, and in this conversation, a workplace system, are greater than the resources physically and mentally of the person who's trying to exist in this system, but is not able to succeed because of that mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone is also having issues at home and they're burned out because of parenting or because of relationship issues, that's going to bleed over too. So, we are whole human beings. We're going to have these influences in potentially multiple places in our life. And when we gift people support, self-awareness to help them conquer and grow through this process of feeling burned out, we're going to help them not only at work, but at home, which is going to in turn help them to perform better, to feel better, and to be better employees. So the wonderful thing is when you help someone in one part of their life, when you come to a life coach for business coaching, you're always receiving life coaching, right? It always goes down to your limiting beliefs. It always goes down to your mindset. But something that I wanted to talk about with burnout in the occupational sense is how important it is when if we are the business owners in this scenario, in this equation, that we make certain that we are not doing what often happens, which is seeing burnout as a diagnosis of the person who's coming to us with the symptoms, because it's not. The system is a part of the problem. The system has challenges that, again, are not matching up with the wonderful humans that are trying to really do well in that system, but they don't have the resources. So what are the actionable steps that we are going to take to try to help those people so that they can succeed within the system, which not only helps them, but the system? And it starts with truly understanding what is missing. A life coach can be really helpful for a business to actually come in if burnout is a more pervasive issue, to help, one, give support to people that's not just HR based, a life coach to help support the employees, but also to help make sure that there's an understanding that these challenges that the employees are facing may need to be addressed, right? We may need to retool things and work so that we're meeting their needs. And to do that, we need to understand what are their needs. So we need an external or an internal support system that's going to actually one-on-one be a safe space for people to come to and say, listen, this feels unfair. And while that may sound trivial, if someone tells you this is unfair, they are giving you the keys to the castle to solve the problem. They're focused on fairness. Okay, so to solve the problem, how can I make this feel more fair? And just listen. And they're likely going to give you a pretty actionable and often really small thing that you could do as an employer to help them know that you hear them and that they matter to fix that. Now, someone else may need to feel that they have control over the situation. So you just can simply ask them, what would give you a feeling of control over this? And work with them to try to conquer that so that they feel like they have what they need to meet the challenges. Because there are serious consequences to our employees if we don't give them this gift of self-awareness, not only for them, but also awareness of how the company is functioning, how the entity is functioning, because we know that it can lead to apathy, depression, headaches, gastrointestinal issues, issues with sleep and stress, affect their home relationships, and even affect how they're eating, potentially misuse of substances like alcohol and other substances like drugs. So it can really have big effects on people's lives, because it's not a short stress that they can just overcome. It's not a bad day at work. When we're talking about burnout, we're talking about a systemic issue that's not being addressed. It's not getting better. And people do not cope well with chronic stress. It has to be addressed eventually.
Man, you're all in my notes. Which is awesome. But I was going to read a couple of statistics. You got, according to a Gallup study, 76% of employees experience burnout on the job, and at least with 28% experiencing burnout very often or always. And just to give you some examples of the symptoms that you started to talk about already is depression. That's one thing that affects people in the workplace. And also that burnout can affect your bottom line drastically. I think it's 41% reduction in productivity for your company if you have a chronic problem with burnout in your business. So I'm glad that you said a couple of things. One, the life coaching. With the life coaching, the business coaching, you do get life coaching. I can never take a business coach without starting from ground level with their life and their responsibilities. If you can't get that, you can't go into life. So I'm really glad that you said that.
And Dr. Shafer, you had mentioned the diagnosis word, right? And so when our experience is that when companies fall into that trap, they also tend to label their employees. So how do we avoid that labeling? How do you train companies to break through that and really be there for the employee rather than, in essence, making excuses of themselves on behalf of the employee?
What a wonderful question. And I think it really goes down to just getting rid of the label, because does anyone want to be labeled with anything? No, because you attach shame to that, you attach blame to that. And again, it's not a real diagnosis, but our experience when we hear burnout, we already have all this kind of emotional history with this word that we're going to attach to it, and we're going to take ownership of it. And it really is, instead of a connector between the business and the employees to solve the problem, right? To let's level this and make it work for everyone, so that, as you were alluding to, it not just helps you and your life and your quality of life, but our bottom line as a business is being affected. And I think just avoiding giving a diagnostic type term to begin with is really important. But coming into a meeting, for example, and saying really openly, hey, we've got challenges. I'm here to listen to you. This is a safe space. We're going to say in every meeting, I'm going to start off with saying, congratulations, guys. And I'm going to focus on all the amazing things that we're doing, the things we're doing well, right? Because we have better momentum when we work on the things we're doing well. So we're going to start off there. We're going to be feeling really good. And then we're going to say, once everyone's really feeling safe and pumped up, we're going to say, wow, I'm so excited to see what we can do. What are some challenges that I can be working on as, someone in leadership to help you? Because look at all these amazing things you're doing. How can we do even better? So when you're coming at it from that space, you're creating this really safe place to share. You're going to get excellent information. They're going to feel safe to share. And they're in problem solving mode, right? They're not in complaining mode. They're feeling safe to open up to you, and they're feeling really supported. So I think that's an excellent way to do so. But if your company culture is not in a place where you can just start that plan every week, I think it's a great plan to have business meetings like that, where you have those conversations at the beginning so that everyone has that opportunity. If you're not quite there, bringing in a life coach to give that safe space to show the employees that it matters and that you are investing in them and their growth, and that you're acknowledging that the system does need to improve and you're going to support them through that. That's a really actionable step you can take.
The thing that strikes me as I listen to your journey and as I listen to everything that you've gone through is that you chose professions where the highs are really high. As a
Mm,
neurologist, you save people's lives. As a musician, you're striving for that gold ring, that stadium show. And
yeah.
the lows are really low when
Mhm.
it doesn't work. Most people don't have jobs like that. You know, if
Mm,
they make a mistake, yes, it's bad, or they could have a bad day, but I got to imagine that the highs that you experienced and the lows that you experienced were a lot more significant. That the chasm between the two really could make for just incredibly good days and incredibly bad days. And I'm just
mm.
wondering how you navigated that and how you were able to, because I think the audience would like to know and take some of that with them to try it for themselves.
Yeah, that's such a wonderful question. For me, I've always been a problem solver and a creator. So, music, when you're creating, you are solving little problems, right? You're creating a cohesive piece of artwork that's not just going to be an artwork. It's going to get into the right ears. It's going to help people, and it's going to be an earbug, right? You want to get into as many homes, as many lives as you can. So it's an art, but it's also this structure that you're trying to create, a life and a business you're trying to build, right? And medicine is also very creative, especially neurology. We would joke in neurology residency and amongst my colleagues now even that, neurologists kind of live in the gray zone. When you go into neurology, you are saying, I'm going to go and practice in the field of medicine about the organ that we know the least about. And I'm going to feel confident living in that gray zone every day, knowing that I'm going to do my best efforts and I'm going to say what the evidence-based medicine decision is on this topic. And I'm going to have to be totally okay if next month that completely changes because we finally got a breakthrough in how the brain works that we didn't know before. And I have to celebrate that I was wrong, because me being wrong and everyone else being wrong is why we came to this point where we understand it better and now we can do better. So being a neurologist is even, I think, a bit tougher than some of the other fields of medicine because you have to be so comfortable in the gray zone. And for me, I've always been really comfortable in the gray zone. I don't take making mistakes personally. They're just growth opportunities. And I'm so excited with every little step I take that it just propels me forward. So I think I actually get a lot of energy out of operating in those types of situations.
People can learn from that. I mean, that's an extreme skill set. I wish I can do that on a regular basis. I can do it sometimes, but you seem like you have a hold on it.
I enjoy it. It energizes me. I like to be challenged. I do not like to be bored, and I'm never bored. So I love it.
We can tell. So in the case of an institution that needs your help, right? And sometimes, or I would suspect that oftentimes they don't want to acknowledge that they need your help. But when they need your help, what's your process? How do you go into the institution? Do you work directly with leadership initially, and then ask to have an audience with their employees and impart your knowledge and motivation to the employees? Or do you take more of a train the trainer approach where you teach the leadership and then hope that they can go ahead and do what they need to do regarding the employees and avoiding burnout?
Yeah. You really need to do everything, right? You need to make sure that everyone is understanding the challenges, that they are helped to move away from the emotional part of the equation and focus really on the actionable steps. So that's where, again, it's business coaching, but it's life coaching. It's always life coaching. And so that's going to take making sure that leadership is getting the support that they need on this journey, because it's hard. It's hard. This is your baby. If you created this company or you created this project and there are big challenges, you might need some coaching to get through your experience of having that. That might be the first time you've had to cope with that, and you may need some support. So leadership needs to have their access and their training and the advisement as well. And sometimes even a separate consulting community can be used, as well as, of course, making sure that there is confidentiality so that then when you go and you're working with employees, they feel that that's a safe space. And that is one thing that can be tricky about business coaching is I think it really works best if leadership understands that while you are employed as a contractor by their company, that you are serving their employees and you are serving them. And I think you're going to have the best results if they understand that you're not reporting back on the employee. You're not only serving leadership, you're not only serving the company, you're serving all of the humans involved so that they can really create a community moving forward that's going to be really effective and achieve these goals and really break down some of these challenges that are standing in their way.
That's the only way it works.
And so when you do that, Dr. Shafer, and you get to the point where you're having these conversations with the employees now, you've already brought the leadership along and you feel comfortable that they understand, right? And they're willing to be supportive of you going in and helping their staff. How difficult is it to convince the staff that it is a safe environment, especially if they're suffering from burnout? They probably have some suspicions about the leadership that they're following. So how do you convince them that it is a safe place for them to share with you and for them to apply the techniques that you give them to deal with burnout, to recover from burnout if they've gone that far through the process? Because I would think that they would be a little reticent to open up initially. So you must have some magic in your process that causes them to feel safe and comfortable with you.
Yeah. Well, the proof is in the pudding, right? So one thing, having your consultant or having your coach come in and say essentially what I've said about confidentiality and about who you work for. I work for the humans and I work for the goals, but I don't work for the business, right? We're all trying to reach this goal and we all need to support ourselves along the way there. So saying that to the group of people all together so everyone hears you and everyone's holding one another accountable to that is really, really important. But then just proving it. You know, you're not going to connect with someone who is having this really, really big, challenging life event because burnout, you know, just like a bout of depression or other really big challenges in our lives, it takes a recovery time. You don't have one coaching session with someone and they feel all better. You have to form a relationship with them. So you have to build that trust. So it's the time, it's the commitment, and it's also who you choose as a life coach, right? Who is right for your organization? Who is right for your pool of employees? So if you have a really energetic pool of employees and they're really young, you may hire a different life coach than if your employees are mostly 35 to 55-year-old women who are dealing with different things in their home life, right? They may have different expectations or values. So understanding the people that you're working with and trying to support, listening to them is really key, and making sure that you have a good fit for who you have coming into your corporation, your business, to make sure that you, again, are moving towards your goals.
Sounds like a topic might be balancing business and babies.
Yep. That is, feeling supported. And, you know, it's kind of that thing also when there's this quote, when we're hysterical, it's historical. When our employees are coping with some really, really big things, right? And they are having really big emotions about things and we don't understand, it's important that we treat them like the human beings that they are with the rich and challenging lives that they are. So when you bring up, you know, balancing business and babies, exactly, you know, they may need support. This may be a season in their life where they need a different kind of support or simply just acknowledgement that life is hard right now. So again, having a coach available may be enough, even just that presence, that hour once a week, that hour once a month may be enough for them to feel like, okay, I've got this data point. I've got someone who believes in me, who's showing me that my voice matters, my input matters, me being here matters. That may be enough to buoy them up in a challenging time.
I'd like to ask about the different methods of communication. When I talk to my doctor and my doctor is giving me news, I want it succinct. I want the cold hard facts. I want him or her to tell me exactly what it is. And yet, when I talk to my employees, sometimes I have to sugarcoat it or soft sell it in the beginning. And I was just wondering, do you find that true in your experience? And if so, you've already spoken about the balance and how it is that you can tell what it is that you need to do.
Yeah, that's such a good question and just a good framework of recognizing how you communicate and recognizing that that doesn't necessarily always bridge the gap between you and your employees. And it may even just be in one department, maybe just that you are employing people who have a certain sensibility and you're just not able to connect. So the life coaching in that situation for leadership may be really, really helpful to maybe ask questions about the why. Why do we need to deliver information in a certain way? And get down to the heart of that. And then once we understand the why behind that, maybe we can find little tricks that we can do to meet at least in the middle with the employees on the communication without having that impact on you feeling like, why can't I be me in this interaction as well? Like, how can we figure out how to do that? And I think that would be something that would take some coaching to get to the bottom of.
Who is your ideal client? As we run into our clientele, we want to keep our eye on the lookout for the ideal client for you. So how would you define or describe your ideal client?
Yeah. I think people who are feeling stuck, whether it's in their career, in their relationships, just in their sense of worth or self, when you're feeling stuck, Dr. Shafer, I'm a good place to turn to because I feel like there was a time in my life where I was the queen of stuck. And my personal experience, as well as my understanding of psychology and neurology and psychiatry with my experience as a physician, as well as my undergraduate experience studying psychology and being a research assistant, has really brought me to a place where I can really show up and sit in that space with people. And that's really what you need. You need to feel when you are in these moments of a feeling of burnout or a feeling of unworthiness, a feeling of stuckness, that someone will just sit next to you in that moment. And that can make what would have been a year of your life into just a moment when you simply have someone sit with you, acknowledge you, and remind you of your power. And so when we invest in employees through life coaching, through making sure that they understand that we see these challenges and that we are committed to hearing them out, to hearing their suggestions and making actionable changes that will allow them to have access to the resources that they need to succeed, that takes what seems like an insurmountable problem in their mind, which is why they're having these feelings of quote unquote burnout, to, okay, let's take this one step at a time and make this job great, not only for me, but for this business and for our customers.
Very good. Do you chase down clients or do clients typically seek you out?
There's a song right now, I don't chase, I attract. No, no, to be funny and come back to the musician side of myself. No, I'm at a place in my life and my career where I really think that when things come to us, those are the things that are meant for us. And that goes with clients too. So if someone is listening and they do feel that there's a possibility here, they think that I could be of help to them, please reach out, because I think we need to do a better job of listening to our gut. We call it our gut, but it's actually our primal nervous system. It's this eons old nervous system that has wisdom that we can't tap into consciously. So when your gut's telling you, I should do that thing, but maybe you're coming up with excuses or reasons why you shouldn't, try to lean into that. So if you are aware of a service, you're having a problem in your company and you hear me speak, or you're aware of a service that you think could help, but you're kind of hesitating, really lean into that, because when your gut's telling you something's wrong and you need to make a change, something's probably wrong, and you really do need to look into it and be proactive. So we know that if we don't head these things off at the pass, we're going to have much bigger problems with employee retention and with even bigger issues potentially in the business. So we really need to be proactive and support our people.
Can you tell people what your expertise is, and also how they can reach you?
Yeah. So again, I am right now, what we're discussing today is more the life coaching aspect. I am also really proud. I do have a podcast called Talks with Dr. Shafer, where I do try to introduce to people my way of thinking and my focus on reclaiming the individual story and building your future. And that goes again for individuals as well as business entities. It's just something that we all need to do to build the business, to build the future that we want for ourselves. We have to take these steps. And so if what we discussed today is interesting to you and you'd like to contact me, please go over to my website. It's www.drshaferstedronova.com. And I hope that you will kindly put that in the show notes, because I know that the last name is a little tricky, which is why I go just by Dr. Shafer.
S-T-E. Can you spell it real quick?
Yes. So DRShaferstedronova.com.
ROVA.
OVA.
OVA.
Stedronova.
Yeah. It's Czech. It's a beautiful last name. It's quite rare in the Czech Republic, and it means generous. So I'm quite attached to it, even though it's difficult to say.
Is it like that right there?
I'm sorry?
Dr. Shafer's. Right, that's it.
All right.
So we just posted your URL, the Dr.
Oh, there it is. Perfect.
So any in the audience, we encourage you to go and visit Dr. Shafer's website, and from there you'll be able to go to her Talks with Dr. Shafer. Is that a subscription program, or how do they participate?
No, that's my gift to the audience. I really want to make an impact through that. So yeah, that's just something I want people to have freely available. And we cover all sorts of content there. So please look there, and also under the name Talks with Dr. Shafer on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of the places you can find all sorts of content where I'm trying to just impart some of these strategies and mindset tips to help you on your journey. And you can click contact or book one-on-one or business coaching through my website.
And where do you broadcast your podcast?
It's available everywhere. YouTube, Talks with Dr. Shafer is the name of the podcast. And so I have audio visuals on YouTube, and I'm also on Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, Apple. Basically, wherever you enjoy podcasts, you should find Talks with Dr. Shafer. But if you don't find it somewhere and you want it, please click contact on my website and let me know if it's missing on your favorite platform, and I'll make sure to get it there.
Fabulous. Well, we know that I knew when we first talked, and I invited you to come on, that you were going to be a great guest. And for the people that are watching today or watching in the future, I think that they will gravitate towards you just because of the gentleness with which you present your message. And therefore, you, just by being yourself, are very, very relatable, aside from the story, right? You just, people... I can see that people would just listen to you to get those tidbits of wisdom and information that they're willing to listen to and apply in their lives. So thank you for giving that all that contact information. We will promote you. You now are part of our ecosystem, right? So when we talk to prospective clients and we identify that they have a burnout issue in particular, but have life coaching opportunities both at the leadership level and at the employee level, then we'll be sure to direct them your way. And if you don't mind, we'll post on our website so that you'll be an additional resource that people that come to our website can go to and just link directly to you. So,
and actually, we're not done with the interview. I actually have another question that I want to ask because I'm curious. I love your energy. I love your delivery, and what you talk about. Can you tell me some of your influences? Who are your influencer, or who inspires you to be how you are?
Oh, that's such an interesting question. So I think, there's some, I'm actually surrounded by books. You probably can't see here, but I'm surrounded by influencers of incredible minds, some of which are holding up my camera right now, so I can't show them to you. But it's a combination of finding those little tidbits. I know for me on my healing journey, Dr. Les Carter was an amazing support to me. He is based out of Texas, and he is a retired therapist, a psychologist, and he just has the most incredible information about dealing with controlling people and delivers it in such a way as you came to that gentleness of delivery so that you can really absorb it. And then he kind of sneakily gets you to understand it's not really about those people, it's about you, right? And it comes back to that life coaching, right? It's not about the business per se. It's about the humans in the business and how can we help them all succeed to elevate the business itself towards the goals, right? And so for me, Les Carter has been someone on that development journey.
We'll wait for it. Oh yeah, it's froze.
you froze. Oh, there you are.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're so lucky to live in this time where people are empowered to write all these amazing books and to share their stories with us because we have access to so many learning and growth opportunities from, like I said, from authors like James Clear and Atomic Habits, who took this time to get this data, to write this book, this amazing gift to the world. And now for like $10, $15, we can take all of that wisdom and make it actionable changes in our lives that enrich us so much. I mean, it's amazing what a time we live in. And again, with podcasts, with what you're doing on your podcast, the way that we can share information with people, it's such an incredible gift. And I am so inspired to be a part of it. So thank you so much for having me on the show and being a part of sharing knowledge with people, because that is the greatest gift.
Oh, wow. Thank you. No, we appreciate you, really.
Lloyd, you always have probing questions, and I warned Dr. Shafer to be careful what you ask. So
I am just so starstruck from the journey. I don't think she could have chosen harder professions to try and make her mark in, and to go forward, and more divergence, right? The doctor is the one that you go to, and you put yourself completely in their hands and in their expertise. And the life coach and the business coach is that portion of it, which is, let me listen to you and try to see if I can help you out. Very divergent, both at the top of the game. And I'm just amazed at the drive of the person that would pursue that, and got to be extremely competitive all the way through.
Well, thank you. I think, many of us in all of these fields, music and medicine and life coaching, we're competing with ourselves. And so you're always when you're always running this race, and you're always thinking, how can I stretch? How can I grow? What's the next challenge? Because again, you don't want to be bored, right? You want to keep going. You want to keep growing. because if we're not growing, we're dying, right? So whether it's your business or your personal development, you always have to be growing.
So I'm going to ask for 4 pearls of wisdom, if you will, since we're gems, right? We're looking for gems in our Great Employees Matter universe. 2 pearls of wisdom for businesses on what they can do to
listen to we dropped out for a second.
Oh, I'm
you
sorry.
got me back. Yeah. So to answer your question about the 4 pieces of advice, 1, be careful with advice, right? Because that advice is coming from someone else's point of view. It's loaded with their own perception. Reality is what? It's our perception of reality. It's not really real. So be careful with advice. Listen to yourself. Always keep growing. And if you can't grow where you are, you have to commit to go where you can grow and keep growing.
Oh, love it. Love it. Great.
Everybody good? All right. Well, dude, I think based on our guests, we really thank you, Dr. Shafer. I'm not even going to attempt to say your last name.
It's okay.
So thank you for coming by. As a recap, we discussed overcoming workplace burnout, and some solutions to that is employees, take care of yourself. Make sure that you're paying attention to yourself. You are important. It's not all about that outside source that's helping you as far as get a check. You got to make sure that you keep yourself in check and make sure you take care of yourself. Regular breaks, vacations, maintaining your health, techniques for mindfulness and meditation maybe. But take care of yourself. For the employer, the role in management is super important to address burnout issues with your employees, recognize that they're taking place, implementing flexible work hours, and even putting in remote work hours in place to help employees in their challenging situations in home life and family life. Is very dynamic now. Creating a supportive and inclusive work environment and providing opportunities for professional growth, in my opinion, is the most important to curb that burnout. So that was just my little recap from the show, but I love your input. I love your approach. I love that you're a business coach, but you start with the life coaching in the business coaching, which is amazing. And I look forward to working with you in the future.
Oh, me too. Thank you so much for having me. This has been lovely.
Well, you're such a wonderful guest. I hope you won't mind when we reach back out to you and say, Dr. Shafer, we're going to be talking about whatever the topic is, and say, would you be interested in being a guest on our show again to specifically address that issue?
Come be a 15-minute expert.
Yeah.
I love it. I would be thrilled. Thank you so much. Anytime.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
I'll be sharing all of the stuff from this. I'm going to break it down. I'm probably going to make some snippets. I would love to be able to regroup with you, show you the process, and then also give you some content.
I love it. Hey, I'm here for it. If you look at Talks with Dr. Shafer, there is a lot of content, and we're always hoping to put out more to support people and help them on this journey to reclaiming their story and to self-awareness. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will talk to you soon.
All right. Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye.